Hello again, this is Jason Tickham, LMGI, continuing with the SolidEdge Fundamentals course. Now we're going to take a look at two-dimensional sketching. Let's go and create a new file. It's a simple metric part file. Let's do this in ordered mode. I'm going to transition to ordered. I'm going to do the sketch command rather than an extrude. We don't need to have the complexity of an extrude. We just want to focus on sketching, so I'm going to choose that. I'm going to choose a coincident plane, and I'm going to draw on this plane. So in the Courseware, your first activity will be like this. Now, the Courseware tends to drive you towards synchronous modeling, and I'll show you where the ordered modeling activities are a little bit later, but let's just think about maybe drawing this shape and putting a few dimensions on it. You'll notice that when you enter into the sketch environment, they kind of will start the line command for you, and if you hover this is not really a button per se, it's kind of a matching icon to kind of remind you what command you are in. This is your command bar, of course, and a lot of these things like the color you probably will very rarely use, but this button you would use a lot with the line command. So for example, if I click for the first point and I start to move my mouse in this rubber band mode, you'll see you have inputs for the length and angle of the line. Some people like to key in numbers as they draw. For starters, let's just draw. Now notice when I move my mouse to be close to the horizontal, I get an indicator next to my mouse pointer. That's a little symbol that shows me that will be created horizontally. So it will impose a constraint or a relationship on it. So that's the second point. And if I move away, again, I can use inputs, but there's a great little trick. It's actually just this button. It's not really too much of a trick, but if I kind of move my mouse in the general direction that an arc may sweep and I tap A on the keyboard, it will switch to an arc drawing mode. So that's a single keystroke or a button click here. Now notice the circle with a cross through it. If your circle looks wrong, simply come back inside the circle and come out the end to imply your intention. So if you see what happens when you come out the back, it's tangent in the other direction. If I come out the top, it's kind of tangent plus 90. So you don't hit escape, you don't stop what you're doing, you just come back into the center of the circle and come around. And another element you'll see is this alignment, this dotted alignment indicator. Now it won't always, on a more complicated sketch, you might have to kind of brush over the target element of interest, and then it will become aligned to that on a smaller set of elements that will search around, but it gives up after a certain point. You need to kind of just deliberately just pass your mouse over that element, and it will then focus on aligning to that. And then I'm going to go ahead and click. See, it's pretty easy if I tap A on the keyboard now, and it's pretty easy to get out to get your arc in the wrong orientation. So remember, just come back inside the intent zone and come around. So this is all part of what they call IntelliSketch or intelligent sketching. Now when I come back around here and I bring my mouse over another element, you'll get a little symbol indicating the type of relationship that will be created, and that's a point on relationship. So the arc will be constrained to touching that element, but it won't be endpoint connected. A line actually has 3 points. It has two endpoints and a midpoint. So if I get my mouse right over this endpoint, I'd then get the point on symbol, and I should also get a tangent relationship. So if we take a look at what the software actually did for us here, let's see if I can maybe zoom in a little bit. You'll see there's a red plus. That's the horizontal constraint. These can actually be simply clicked and deleted if you wanted to. I would just I would tap the delete key now. We have a tangent relationship, and then inside there we have a connect relationship. Now I, I have the select tool active, which is just the pointer. right here, and that's also the command that will be active if you tap escape a few times. And if I hover and wait, you'll see a dot 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 show up next to your mouse, and when that's on the screen you can right click, and this is what's called quick pick. It allows you to kind of pick through the Z order of multiple elements that are under your mouse. So I can see that there's a tangent, and notice the dotted elements showing me the actual tangency, and then the connect showing me the dotted elements that it's actually connected to. So if you have a few elements that are stacked up on each other, it will show you exactly what's connected to what. So you can actually delete the thing that you don't want, or work with it. So this is quick pick. Quick pick is everywhere in the software. It's whenever you have an opportunity to pick more than one thing under your mouse, that maybe things may be stacked on top of each other, and you want to be able to pick through that stack. There's some settings here for quick pick, which mouse button, how long before the the dots show up, but usually unless you work left-handed or something, if you left click it will simply pick, so you have to actually right click to get quick pick to even come up. So a little bit more about drawing. So this line now, I've removed the horizontal constraint. If I click right on the line and drag it, it will maintain its vector of direction and allow me to move it. If you grab it by a node on one of these little handles at the end, you'll see you can edit things a little bit differently. You get a little cross on your mouse pointer when you put your mouse over an element. So you select it, move to the end point, and then edit it. So you select it, move to the end point, and then edit it. So to reimpose the constraint, you can apply manually these relationships. So here's the horizontal vertical that was created initially on the fly. So you have a number of these. So a connect is the little square connecting the arc and the line. Horizontal vertical is what was used to make that line straight. It's a single click. I'm deliberately staying away from the key point, so it will make a crooked line straight. It picks the best solution based on how angled the line is. Tangent, if I didn't get one of my tangencies, I would simply click one and then the other element, or you can even click right at the one click on a connection point of two elements that makes sense. If an arc and a line will make them tangent. I think parallel is pretty easy to understand. Equals relationship can be used to make two circles equal. So if I choose equal and I say make this equal to that, it applies the equals relationship, and you see they highlight in pairs. When you pass your mouse over them, they highlight in pairs, and when you click them, they select in pairs. So you can also delete those if needed. You can create symmetric relationships, which you will also get when you create if you create mirrored geometry, you will get that symmetry relationship as well. Collinear is a common one, and this button lets you redefine the symmetry axis. If you had multiple elements to create symmetry and you wanted to change the axis, the first time you run this command, it'll ask you to choose an axis. There's even a lock for a very, if you just have an element that you can't decide how to constrain it, you just want to make it stay, you can lock that key point down. So notice also how an arc has a center point, it has this midpoint, and it has endpoints. This circle just has really just a mid key point. These key points can also be accessed with shortcut keys with the mouse. So let's say I begin drawing with the line command. There's M-I-C-E. If I simply hover my mouse over that element and tap C on the keyboard, and I'm just going to very slightly move my mouse, it actually found the center of that element. If I move my mouse over this element and tap M, you see M on the keyboard replaces the mouse click. And I'll come here and do a C just kind of drawing randomly M, E, and the intersect, the last one is I, you have M-I-C-E. It's actually described right down here to kind of remind you in the prompt bar. Intersect is for I. You need to brush two elements. So if I kind of identify those again as I'm drawing, or even dimensioning, if I just put my mouse over that element and do C, and then C, it will seek out the center points. This works everywhere in the software. It works in drafting as well. It works in the 3D space as long as you precede it with a K. Again, that would be in the prompt. We'll continue with this in the next video.